Well, good evening, church, and thank you for tuning in to our special announcement for tonight. I wanted to spend some time with you and just talk about Sunday morning as we begin to phase back into corporate worship on campus. It's going to be a little different than perhaps you're used to in the past, and so I wanted to spend just a few minutes just helping you to understand the procedures we're going to be following as we come back on campus this coming Sunday morning. Now, let me just remind you that we are trying to phase back into corporate worship. That is, that we're doing so following the guidelines of the CDC as we think about worshiping together in large crowds. And one of the main things that's driving us is we want to make sure that we maintain a 6-foot distancing among all people, because our priority is protecting those who will be in our worship services. The last thing that we want to be is another church on CNN or Fox News who has come back irresponsibly and a congregation full of people has gotten COVID-19. So we want to make sure that we are not that church. And so we want to do things wisely. We want to do things in stages. And so we're calling this phase 2 modified, meaning that we're going to, from May the 31st until June the 28th, follow these procedures that we're in right now. And as things change, as things shift, we're praying about, July and what that's going to look like. We have a mission trip that we had planned. We got vacation Bible school we would like to do. We certainly want to get back to Sunday school if possible. And so we'll be using the month of June to watch the statistics and watch the data that's coming out and just see what's happening here at church among our congregation, and thinking wisely as we think about moving back into a more fuller, rich ministry here on campus. So as we think specifically, though, about this coming Sunday, I wrote a grocery list of some things that I just want to sort of read through and talk about so that you understand what we're going to be doing. So the first thing I want to let you know is that starting this Sunday and through June the 28th, we'll be offering 2 worship services here on campus. One is going to be at 8:30 in the fellowship hall, and that is going to be for our senior adults and for those who are at most risk for COVID-19. Now, the question I've been asked is, if I'm a senior adult, do I have to go to that service? Well, most certainly not. You can come to the 10:30 service. If you're at risk for COVID-19, even though we encourage you to go to that service at 8:30, you're more than welcome to come to the 10:30 service. And so, we want people to be able to go where you feel most comfortable. And so we just felt like it was our responsibility to offer that particular service. So that's going to be at 8:30 in the fellowship hall. And then at 10:30, we're going to have our main worship time, and that's going to be in the sanctuary. Now, as I've been saying for several weeks now, that is going to be at 50% capacity of the sanctuary, meaning that we'll be able to hold about 128 people in the sanctuary. And once we reach that number, and yes, we will be head counting, once we reach that number, we're going to move people into an overflow. And in the overflow room, it will be a live stream, so you'll be able to watch the service, but it'll still be on the television screen like being at home. So, it'll be a little different than being in the sanctuary. But maintaining the 6-foot guidelines, that would be the only way that we could do it, is to have 128 people in the service. Now, by now, you should have received, hopefully, a call from one of your deacons asking about if you're going to return or not. And we're certainly using the data that we receive to make further decisions. So we're not sure from this Sunday to the next Sunday what we're going to do as far as maybe adding a worship service or doing something a little different. So we just need you to be patient with us. But as of this Sunday, this is what we're going to be doing. The 8:30 service in the fellowship hall for senior adults and those at risk. And then at 10:30, our main service with 128 folks with an overflow here on campus with a live stream. And so that's what we're going to be doing. Now, I want to talk a little bit of specifics with you. Like, what is it really going to look like on Sunday if you come to either of those particular services? Well, the first thing I want to tell you is that we will not be opening any of the facilities up for the services until 15 minutes prior. So that means that if you're coming to the 8:30 service, you won't be able to have access to the fellowship hall until 8:15, and then we'll open up the facility. We'll have a deacon that will be present. They will help you in the process as you come into the building. They'll be there to open the door for you. And if you're coming to the 8:30 service in the fellowship hall, you're going to enter under the breezeway past the office. You're going to enter into the room there, or to the door to the side that's marked with the restrooms. And so you're going to come in that door, and that's where you'll be coming in. And again, we'll have somebody here that will help you to do that. And then if you're coming to the 10:30 service, we'll not open the sanctuary until 10:15. You'll be able to get in then, and you will enter through the front doors of the sanctuary. No other doors will be open. That would be the only doors that you'll be able to enter into. And so those are the first things that we're going to do. So if you're coming to 8:30, 8:15, if you're coming to 10:30, be 10:15, the doors will be open. You'll be able to come in. What we're going to ask everybody to do is to maintain a 6-foot social distancing. That's still one of the CDC guidelines. And so we're asking that no hugs, no kisses, no handshakes take place. And of course, you're adults, and that's at your own risk, but we do want to just ask you to maintain that and to not do that as you come to the service. The other thing we're going to ask you to do is we're going to have some hand sanitizer stations as you come into the building, and we're going to ask that you utilize that. You use the hand sanitizer as you come in to the building, and we'll, as I said, we'll provide all that for you. We're going to just ask that if you want to wear a mask, you certainly can do so. If you don't want to wear one, then certainly you do not have to. We're not requiring masks to be worn for any of the services that we're going to be having. However, having said that, if you do want to wear a mask, please feel comfortable doing that. There's nobody's going to be looking at you weird. We understand this is the world we live in, and if you feel comfortable and you feel the need to wear a mask, please do so. We certainly want you to feel comfortable as you come, and as a result of that too, all those who will be serving you will be wearing masks. So you will see those deacons and other ushers who are helping you will be wearing masks, and that's just something that we're asking them to do, again, to keep everybody safe. So the other thing that we're going to be doing is when you come to the services, you're going to be escorted to your seats. Now, I know that's a little different. You're not used to that, but we're going to escort you to your seats. And let me just tell you how it's going to work. We are going to fill up from the very front to the very back in the sanctuary. And then in the fellowship hall, we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to fill up from the back to the front. And that will allow people not have to pass one another that much. And so that'll give us a little bit of space, distance as well as that's been required of the 6-foot distancing. So we're going to ask that you realize that. And so when you come to the door, you're going to be asked to be waited to be seated. And that's how we're going to seat everybody. And then when the services are over, we're going to go in reverse order. And so we're going to ask those in the sanctuary that are in the rear to leave first, and down to the front, and then reversed in the fellowship hall. I know it doesn't make sense right now in your mind maybe, but just that's how we're going to to come and to go as we think about coming together. If you're coming with your family, we're going to ask that you not spread out, but that you sit with your family. We've been quarantined with our families all this time, and so it just makes sense that when you come to church that your family grab a pew and you all just squeeze in and sit together, especially in the sanctuary as we think about the limited space requirements that we have, that you sit together as families together. So we're going to ask you to do that. The other thing we're going to ask you to do is utilize the restrooms in the building in which you're worshiping. That is, if you're in the fellowship hall, use those restrooms, and in the sanctuary, please utilize the ones in the sanctuary. I know that sometimes we like to roam and go to different restrooms during worship services, but we're going to ask you for sanitation and for just make sure we are able to clean everything wisely and keep everything clean and sanitized. We're going to ask that you please utilize the restrooms in the buildings that you're in and not to roam into any other buildings, because right now on campus, the only buildings that are going to be utilized would be the fellowship hall, the church offices, and the sanctuary. We're not going to be utilizing any other buildings, and we want to make sure that we keep them sanitized where we don't have to spend the time cleaning them throughout the week. So please utilize those. Also, as we think about coming together, we want you to know that we will not be having our traditional pass the offering plate. And so what that means is that we'll have offering stations set up for you to be able to give your offering either when you come in or when you leave. They'll be by the door and you can give your offering that way. I know for many of us that doesn't seem like worship, but giving gracefully to the Lord, giving out of your heart to the Lord is the most important. God loves a cheerful giver, and so as you give, that's the way you'll be doing that. And let me just say this, church, I have been so thankful And we have been so blessed by your continued stewardship. So thank you for being good stewards. Even during this time where we've not met at church, you've been such great stewards. And we just want to thank you for utilizing the tool of the website, utilizing our online giving. So that's going to be a feature that we're going to continue to offer. And so we pray that you'll continue to do that. The other thing that's going to be a little different is that we're not going to be offering any kind of bulletin whatsoever. So there won't be any kind of paper handed out. So that'd just be one less thing that we have to touch. The other two things I want to talk about tonight in our video is simply this. One, that we will not be offering any nursery or child care at this time. We're just not at a stage and a place we can do that. And so we won't be offering that at this time. Now, having said that, if you have small children, we want you to know that you're more than welcome to worship as a family in the sanctuary here. Now, that'll certainly be, I know tough for some families, so you don't feel like you can be comfortable in worship with your kids talking or making noise. I can just promise you from a preaching standpoint that I'm able to tune that out. But we want to offer to you the opportunity to come as a family. We encourage you to come as a family. But we certainly understand that right now, if you don't wish to do that, that you will continue to watch our online services at home. The other thing that we won't be doing at this time is offering anything other than the worship services. So we will not have Wednesday nights. We will not have Sunday school at this time. And so we want you to be aware of that. If you're in a Sunday school class, perhaps you've already been meeting on Zoom or some other social media. But one of the things I want to encourage, with the lift of the groups meeting, you could also meet now in a park or some other outdoor place. And that would be a great opportunity for your Sunday school class to get together and to have a fellowship. So, please realize that we're working towards that goal of having Sunday school and children's activities again. But we do understand right now that, that's tough on you. We're working on it. So continue to be praying for us and we appreciate all the encouragement you've been giving us. Well, let me just give some final words as I think about, returning back to campus and the day in which we're living. And that is, number one, I know that not everybody's ready to come back to church. I've talked to several and they're not ready to come back to church. And I certainly understand that. And what we want you to know is that there's no judgment here. We want you to be comfortable when you're ready to come back to church. You come, and we're ready to have you back. We're looking forward to you being here. In the meantime, let me just assure you that we're going to continue to offer at 10:30 on Sunday mornings our online service, and so that will continue on, and that's something we hope and pray that we can continue on from here out. And so we bought some equipment to be able to do that, and we're looking forward to being able to do that. And so feel free. Also, let me just say, if you're a family with young children, and I understand I have 6-year-olds that live in my house. If you're not ready to come and try to keep the kids quiet during the worship, you can continue to watch online. We're looking forward to the day where we can bring your kiddos back on campus and be able to have nursery and preschool and children's Sunday activities again. So we understand there's no judgment in that as well. If you decide at this time you need to stay at home and watch our live stream. Well, the other thing I want to say as we sort of wrap it up is that, we're living in a time where there's extremes. And one of the things that I've been seeing is the extreme on one side where there's been fear and panic about COVID-19 to the extent that people literally are living in panic and fear. But then I've seen the other side where everybody thinks it's just a hoax and there's nothing going on. And here's the reality, folks. The reality is the truth is always somewhere in the middle, right? COVID-19 is a disease. It is something that's, could be caught, and it's something that can, if you have multiple other health issues, it can be, life-threatening to you. And so one of the things I want to say is that regardless of where you are on the spectrum, I hope that first of all, we'll all be finding ourselves more in the middle. We'll be trusting the Lord, walking in faith, but also being wise as we walk with the Lord. But I hope that no matter where you are on that spectrum, that you will, in all things, as Paul said in 1 Corinthians 16:14, that you'll do everything in love. That is, we have to love our brothers and sisters, no matter where they may be on the spectrum in dealing with the current issues and affairs going on in our country right now. And so I would pray that as we think about coming back on campus, that we would also show love and and compassion as we start to move back to those who may not feel comfortable coming yet. For those who may have small children and don't think they could come right now because the children would be just more of a distraction to them than it would be to be able to worship. Or maybe there's some who are coming back and you are gung-ho and you're ready to be here, and we need to show love and compassion and concern for everybody. And that's sort of what I want to say as your pastor. I love every one of you. I love each of you. And I don't care where you stand on the COVID-19 or where you stand politically or on other issues. Listen, our command of the Lord Jesus Christ, remember, is to love God and to love people. And we love you, and we're looking forward to seeing you. We're looking forward to seeing you as God brings you back, as you feel comfortable coming back. For those of you who will be here Sunday morning, we're looking forward to seeing you. Those of you who will be coming in the future, we look forward to seeing you then. Well, thanks for joining in tonight. Thanks for listening. God bless.